Earthquake survivors emerge from the rubble as a number of casualties continue to climb in Nepal. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Horrible devastation. Heartbreak today after a major weekend earthquake rocks Nepal.
Search and rescue operations continue as relief efforts from around the globe and here in the tri-state are ramping up. Many families who survived the quake are being forced to live in makeshift shelters. Steve Nannis has the latest on the frantic search for survivors.
In Nepal, it's a race against the clock. Against long odds, officials are scrambling to find any survivors from Saturday's devastating 7.8 magnitude earthquake. On Monday, a young child was rescued, pulled from a large pile of rubble. But for many others, they stood little chance. The death toll continues to rise well into the thousands. Thousands more were injured. At least 4 U.S. citizens were killed, including Dan Fredenberg, a Google executive, who was climbing Mount Everest when an avalanche swept through.
We threw him a really big party before he left, but you just, especially with Dan, you just assume he'd be able to get out of it. He'd be able to figure this out.
Saturday's quake turned buildings, homes, and temples into unrecognizable mounds of concrete. There are makeshift camps for survivors, and over 15 nations plus the EU are sending aid. But there are reports that hospitals are simply overwhelmed. In villages outside the capital, closer to the epicenter, there are fears of total destruction.
As a president, I'd like to thank all the international community and to my people. They all are helping each other, and we are ready to tackle these calamities.
The financial cost from the quake could be staggering, an estimated $5 billion according to one economist. But for now, the priority remains finding anyone who could still be alive, waiting, praying for a miracle. I'm Steve Nannis reporting.
You know, in this day and age of uncensored video that you can see on the web, it's just so disturbing to see it raw and out like that. Secretary of State John Kerry says the U.S. is sending an additional $9 million of aid to Nepal, which brings the total to $10 million. Many